Good morning, friends and fellow traders. This is Doug Campbell with Right Way Options, and this is the Morning Market Prep video for February 19th, 2025. Well, I hope everyone had a great afternoon, good evening, ready for another wild and woolly day in the market. Let's take a look at what happened in the market overnight. First off, if we take a look at Asian markets struggled last night, mostly lower, but nothing in a major move to the downside. We saw Australia was just a little bit lower by 0.73%. The Nikkei was down 0.27%. India was down 0.05%. South Korea actually was a little bit higher last night, while Hong Kong was lower and Shanghai was modestly higher. So kind of an interesting day in those Asian markets as they're trying to react to tariffs on autos and semiconductors and pharma goods, things like that. If we take a look at European markets this morning, well, they're decidedly bearish here this morning. The DAX is down 0.83%, 188 points. FTSE is down 0.45%, and the CAC is down 0.86% this morning. When we look at U.S. futures this morning as well, we're a little bit lower. We've got Dow futures moving down here this morning. Nothing major, but right at this moment, down 106 points. We've got our S&P 500 futures down $9.50, and the NASDAQ futures down $23.75 at the moment. So we'll have to keep an eye on that through the morning because we do have quite a bit of earnings coming out here this morning. If we take a look at what's going on in our bond prices here, well, our bond prices are moving up here again today. We have our 2-year bonds now pushing up to 4.30%, 10-year bonds 4.57%, and those 30-year bonds pushing back to 4.79% here this morning. Seeing those numbers creating some issues here for the overall market. And when we take a look at the U.S. dollar, you can see the U.S. dollar here is also pushing up this morning as a result. So that's having some differing effects here in the market. And one of the things that is kind of surprising at the moment is that we're still seeing gold hold bullishness. Now, I'm not exactly sure what's going on here, but gold really reversed yesterday. There was a lot of reporting out there of massive amounts of gold being purchased and sent to the United States. And we're seeing it have that knock-on effect here, continuing to push those gold prices higher. And even with the dollar moving back up this morning, we've got gold up $5.70, $5.80 an ounce at $2,954.80 an ounce here this morning. Silver this morning had a nice reversal yesterday, but a little bit on the flat side here. Right now, silver futures are up about 8-9 cents at $33.47 an ounce. So kind of keep an eye on that, but a very bullish pattern overall. When we look at copper pulled back yesterday, but I got to tell you, right now, copper, COPX in here, that's a pretty nice looking chart. I'd keep an eye on that nice little resting pattern in here on copper. Worth keeping an eye on. If that can find some buyers in here, could certainly start to pick up, and you may want to take a look at Freeport also setting up. We'll look at this again in just a bit. If we take a look at platinum is a little higher, and palladium also trying to get just a tiny little bit of movement going here this morning. However, if we look at those cryptos here this morning, well, cryptos are a big reversal here today after an ugly move yesterday. They're reversing back up. We broke and lost this support, and we were threatening to lose that trend until we got that bounce back up. Right now, this morning, we've got Bitcoin up $2,317 a coin. Ether is up $99 a coin after a really rough day yesterday. It's 3.78% on Ether and 2.46% on Bitcoin, and green across the board on those cryptos this morning as we flip-flop around on this uncertainty. Let's take a let's see, did I get through? Yeah, no, I forgot oil. I knew there was something else. Let's take a look at oil. If we take a look at XLE, XLE had a nice little rally yesterday. We saw some bullish action in some oil stocks yesterday. Oil producer stocks trying to push up. You can see that we've got this little higher low, and we're trying to break back through up here. Nice little pop in there yesterday, and this morning we've got oil futures higher as well. We've got oil right now up 62.5 cents a barrel, so keep an eye on that. And Brent crude is running in there at 76.48 a barrel versus a 72.45 a barrel on light sweet crude. And natural gas continuing to move to the upside. We had a big move in natural gas yesterday, and it is continuing to surge this morning, up a little over 5 cents here this morning. So continuing to see lots and lots of bullishness there in natural gas, coming up into some resistance here, however. So what does all that mean for the day? Well, how about we settle in, let's buckle up, and let's get ready for the Wednesday edition of the Morning Market Prep video. Good morning once again, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. I very much appreciate it. Hope everyone is doing well today and in a warm place. It is warming up here. It's only -8 degrees this morning versus the -12 that we had yesterday morning, so guess I can't complain about that. But hope wherever you are, it's a little bit warmer. Better days in spring. Maybe we can start thinking spring. Come on, spring is right around the corner. Let's take a look at these index charts and see if we can gain a little bit of information about how we might want to approach the market for today. Remember, we want to look at these without bias. We want to look at these for what they are, not for what we would like them to be. I mentioned yesterday in the right way options as we were coming to the end of the day that this pattern here, this little wedging pattern that we've been in, has about a 50% chance of breaking out to the upside and 50% chance of breaking down to the bottom side. And you can see as we continue to wind around in this really tightening wedge here, how that possibility could truly exist. And if we see some bullish action here today, if the bulls get something going, well, we would look at this little resistance high right here for that potential to pop on through, and then we'd start moving up to see if we can attack all-time highs here in our diamonds chart. However, if those bears were to continue this morning, continue to finding that inspiration, if we were to break down, I think, below this little tweezer type bottom right here, that's a little support right there. But if we were to break down below there, I think there is a chance we could move back down and test this area here in the chart. Now remember, we're going to have to move quite a bit lower here to retest that 50-day moving average. We're going to have to break this on back down and even move down into here. What's interesting is we've been holding up here in the diamonds. Notice that the 50-day moving average is still on that trajectory south, just a tiny little bit. So watch that closely. If the bears get going here, we may have a little bit of a problem there. But right now, it's just hold, continue to buy tech. And so keep a close eye on that. If we take a look at our SPY, SPY, much better situation, and it really benefiting from those tech giants continuing to buy those up, and broke through this resistance up here, all-time highs coming in the SPY yesterday. They got that done, even though volume was incredibly light. We'll want to watch that closely. If the bulls can continue to find inspiration here, well, push right on through, blue sky above. Nothing up there to restrict it to the upside, so keep an eye on that. If the bears happen to find any inspiration today, well, breaking back down below that little bit of support might raise just a little tiny bit of concern. I think if we continue to progress on lower, coming back to retest this little upside trend, that's where we might have a little bit of concern starting to creep up. If that were to break, breaking back down through there would probably put us in a situation where we'd be looking at that 50-day moving average again for a possible test. So keep an eye on that. If we can take a look, remember, there's only 5 companies now that make up 25% of the S&P 500, and you've got to imagine if any of those 5 companies start to move south, it may be a little bit difficult for this index to maintain. So just be really careful as we stretch these evaluations in the market. If we take a look at our QQQ, well, QQQ also pushing up here, making new record highs. You can see right in here, popping up there, that new record high in the chart, and just squeaking it out. If the bulls can continue to find inspiration here on this, then I would suggest a push right through is certainly possible to blue sky highs, and no restrictions up there. If the bears, however, were to come in with any kind of push here on the day, I think pushing back down through this area or to test that area would be an area of support that we would likely test. And then if that were to break, then I think we're starting to move on down and test this little bit bigger area of price support in the chart. And beyond that is probably where we'd have a little bit of worry coming into that. But for now, QQQ, very, very bullish as long as we continue to buy up those big techs. And if we take a look at IWM, well, IWM continues to struggle in here. We had a push trying to break us back above that 50-day moving average yesterday and trying to get us out of this downtrend, but we still lack the momentum here until I think we start seeing some rotation. Or I think there is some rotation going on, but more rotation happening. I think we're going to continue to see IWM struggle here with that momentum. But if those bulls can get something going here, well, we certainly have a good opportunity right here to push right on through that little resistance and break this downtrend if those bulls can get going. And then we'd be back up here in this area to see if we can deal with that resistance in the chart once again. If, however, those bears were to find inspiration and pushing back down, again, that's going to be a failure of our 50-day moving average, and a pretty good chance that we could come down, test this area, and then I think we might even see the 200-day moving average with another failure here of that 50. So watch that pretty closely. Let's take a peek at our VIX. Now, our VIX elevated just a little bit yesterday and was holding in there pretty good until right at the end of the day. There was a massive surge up in the last few minutes of the day, pushing things up as the dark pool activity came in. So watch that carefully here. We've been up here. We tested this resistance in the chart. If the bears were to have any inspiration here on the day, then pushing back up to retest that or maybe even break through, testing some of these resistance areas right up in here. Keeping in mind, overall, we're still in very good shape here. The market itself doesn't seem to have any concern at all about valuations like I do, but watching that carefully, we're still in this downtrend. So pushing up through here, we might break that downtrend. Now, if the bears were to, or if the bulls were to continue to show no fear here, then I think a push right back down to retest the support here in the chart would be a very likely case, and then pushing down here would say, hey, we're ready to just keep moving to the upside. There's no fear in the market if that were to occur. So watch that carefully. Our T20s, T21, 22, kind of an interesting day yesterday. We did have more stocks rallying to the upside yesterday than we had going down. So we pushed up here around 68% here in the chart as volume was really light. It was really a choppy, kind of a crummy day in volume. So watch that carefully. If this gets a big spurt of energy in some way, shape, or form on those bulls, then we certainly have upside opportunity for them to push, and every reason to believe that that is possible. Now, if the bears have anything to say here, well, we also have a very large opportunity to the downside if those bears get going at all. So yeah, we'll have to keep a pretty close eye on this because we're in that situation where big moves are possible, and I'll show you why I think that in just a second. If we take a look at our T2108, got to give this up to the bulls yesterday. They finally were able to close and hold up here above 50% in T2108. So we once again have just over 50% of the stocks back above their 40-day moving average. We'll want to watch this little downtrending area here in the chart if we can continue up to see if we can test that and maybe even pop on through. Getting up through 55 plus would be a pretty good sign that those bulls are willing to continue to buy. Now, if the bears were to get going here today, pushing that back down below that 50%, well, don't worry too much because we've got quite a little bit of price support right down here in this area. What we're lacking is a lot of momentum. We take a look at T2107 now. T2107, not quite as stellar of a move yesterday, pushing up still below the 50% here. Very, very light and choppy price action in here. There's that 50% that if those bulls can get going, we need to attack that area and see if we can pop on through there. If the bears have anything to say this morning, notice we've got some good areas of price support down here as well. But here's the problem. Normally by this time in earnings, the blackout period, for stocks, we start to see big corporate buybacks occurring, and that usually spikes this market breadth. So far, I mean, yesterday our market breadth continued to sink as they were trying to get that buying going early in the pre-market, and I suggested that we watch for whipsaws because our breadth is so low. I'm going to say the same thing this morning, even though that we're trying to push a little bit lower here this morning. Watch for whipsaws here in the market with our breadth being so low. It really is that market that is set up for a big news event of some kind to really make a big impression in the market. So be prepared for that. And whether you're long or short, make sure you have a plan to protect yourself in this market. Pretty interesting things going on here overall. Now let's take a look at a few stocks that, well, first off, let's take a look at our economic calendar. Our economic calendar today, well, we've got a few things to be thinking about. First off, mortgage applications are already in this morning and moving lower here. Mortgage applications falling to a negative 6.6. on that composite number. Purchase index negative 5.9 and refinance a negative 7.3. So big change here in those mortgage applications. I think we are really seeing that weakening of the consumer here, a little bit of weariness with credit card debt hitting another new record high last week. So yeah, keep a close eye on that. But remember, we've got housing starts and permits that will be coming out this morning. They're looking for those to be a little bit less, pulling back. Now, that might be a good sign for inflation, but might also be that little bit of sign of a weakening economy. So watch that carefully on housing and permits today. Atlanta Fed business inflation expectations will be coming in. Last time it was 2.2. We'll see what they're thinking. Today there is no consensus on that. We've got e-commerce retail sales this morning. Last period it was 2.6. So we can measure against that, but again, no consensus here on that figure. Treasury buyback announcement, 4-month and a 20-year bond auction here today. And then the FOMC minutes at 2 o'clock p.m. Now, I don't think we're going to learn anything more than what we have seen from all of the Fed speak, but we always have to remember when we get those FOMC minutes, we could have choppy, go nowhere prices right up until it, and sometimes we get big price reactions around it, even though there's probably not much more to be learned from the FOMC, but we'll have to wait and see how the market reacts. So be prepared for some volatility this afternoon. Jefferson will be speaking tonight, and we'll start looking forward into Thursday, those jobless claims and the Philly Fed numbers coming up on Thursday. Let's take a peek at our earnings calendar here for today. And our earnings calendar, well, it's kind of a busy one this morning. Once again, not doing the blog here today, but prepared this. You can see we've got quite a few. Take a screenshot of that if you would like. Just pause the video, take a screenshot of that. There is a lot of potential reports here today that have some good movement in it. Let's take a look at a few of them here this morning. First off, let's take a look at like ADI here this morning. Big pop going on there in ADI, getting some love here this morning. CLVT. Not so much love, pushing to the downside. Etsy reporting this morning, going a little bit lower. We've got AG, got a silver miner that's supposed to report here today. Not much action in there just yet. And then other things like SCL will be reporting. We've got Wingstop in there, and Wolverine will be reporting this morning. So keep an eye on some of those reports here today. And then this afternoon, we've got a few things in here as well, like Carvana certainly could be a market mover here this afternoon. Watch that closely. We've got Cake in here that will be reporting. The old Herbalife is in there. Host Hotels will be reporting as well, and a lot of oil. We've got like NOG coming into report, so quite a little bit of oil in here as well. TOST this afternoon, so quite a few reports here to be paying attention to. None of the major names that really move the market a ton, but we do want to be paying attention to those. So what does all that mean? Well, how about we take a look at some stocks that could be setting up for today? But before we do that, everyone, if this is the first time you've seen these videos, if you could do me that quick favor, if you could click that subscribe button on YouTube and also click that bell icon when it pops up so you'll be notified every time I post a video. And if you find these videos to be useful or helpful, if you could do me that favor, clicking that thumbs up button, leave a brief comment. That helps the channel to continue to grow. Thank you so much for everyone who does take the time to do that. I truly appreciate it. Thank you for everyone who shares these videos out on your social media feed. And just the nice, the kindness, the comments. You guys, you humble me every day. I really, really appreciate it. Never in my wildest dreams would I have imagined that folks would be interested in content that has no prediction in it and tries to avoid all of the hype out there, just looks at the charts for what they are, and really I do try to do my best job of helping folks improve their trading. So thank you, everyone. Let's take a look at a few of these charts that could be setting up. Remember, everyone, they're not recommendations to buy or sell any security. Do your own due diligence and be very careful with the circumstances that we have in the market. Big point moves are possible, so be prepared for that. Placed a price alert. This was brought up by one of our members. I like some position trades, and in a position trading pattern, boy, they don't get a whole lot better than this. IBOT, nice trend break to the downside here. We're breaking it nicely through. Nice little consolidating move right in here. I've placed a price alert in this chart right in this area, looking for that opportunity that might push right on through here. Keep an eye on that if you like longer term trades. Really nice pattern in here. And if I go to a weekly in here, you can see this is what we call a rounded bottom breakout pattern on a weekly. Very, very nice pattern to be paying attention to. So keep a close eye on that if you have an interest. Also, take a look at this PSLV. Silver continues to show some strength here. Now, again, I have a little bias in here because I picked up some PSLV and making some nice money in here, but watch that closely. Continuing to show some bullishness here this morning. May push on through, and I think there is a reasonable possibility that we could be up here retesting either the resistance of the underneath side of that little high point or right back up here toward those highs. Watch that carefully here. A lot of volume build coming into silver. So watch that closely. Now, of course, you could look at SLV itself also setting up nicely here, and gold. Just been a monster move. PHYS also in that monster move. I would be really, really careful as we approach 3,000 gold. That is a big round number and could be a cap coming here on gold for a little bit. Needs a little rest, I think, if you ask me. But there seems to be a little bit of fear out there in the market, and one of the reasons why people would buy up so much gold. So watch that close. Let's take a look at some steel in here. Steel Dynamics looking really good. STLD holding in here nice. We had an alert on this. It popped through, then rested back just a little bit to hold that area of support on that breakout. Now stretching up higher. I still think there's a very good chance we could test this resistance, or maybe even pop through, test the upside of that resistance area in the chart. So I would keep an eye on that. Take a look at U.S. Steel. Now you got to be careful here a little bit with U.S. Steel. I know it's just been such a political football here lately with we're going to buy it out. No, we're not going to let it be bought out. But watch that carefully in here. U.S. Steel holding this nice trend, nice little resting pattern in here. If those buyers can find some inspiration here on this, then I think there is a reason we could see U.S. Steel move to the upside, particularly if we start to see the dollar weaken. So keep an eye on that. MT has been incredibly strong. Needs a little rest in here after that big popping move to the upside, but I think there's some opportunity there. If you take a look at Nucor showing strength here to the upside. Beautiful little upside trend. Might pop up into that resistance in the chart. Now this is a big area of resistance. Going to have to work pretty hard to get through there, but watch that carefully. And even Cleveland Cliff up here testing some resistance, trying to pop on through here as we're starting to see some of those steel stocks pushing back up as well, along with other precious metals. So watch that carefully. Now when we talk about metals, and we need to talk about mining, mining continues to be a lot of these mining stocks looking very, very good. Take a look at VALE showing lots of bullishness here, continuing to push to the upside. And I had mentioned FCX, something to be paying attention to. FCX breaking this downtrend here in the chart. Nice little resting pattern in here. If we look in FCX here on the daily, we're coming into a rounded bottom breakout pattern. Very, very bullish overall pattern here on FCX. I would watch that carefully. And then, of course, that COPX, if you're looking for something in that same arena, COPX here on the copper miners, looking darn good here at the moment, breaking that downtrend. And once again, in that rounded bottom breakout pattern. So watch that carefully on copper. Now, when we take a look at aluminum, certainly can't say that on aluminum. Just not getting her done here at the moment. We're trying to hold maybe a little higher low in here, but I think this needs a whole lot more evidence in here before I really get too excited about what's going on in aluminum. I can't say the same for sugar, though. When we look at cane sugar, oh my goodness, a big push here to the upside in sugar. Any little rest or pullback, I think, sets up an opportunity. Take a look at some of these defensive type plays out there as well. We have seen Coke have a really strong move to the upside. Needs a little rest in here, but things like Altria trying to move to the upside. Mondelez trying to move to the upside, looking good. I saw Hershey making that move, breaking that downtrend, pushing up. Now this still has that 50-day moving average, so still got some explaining to do here yet on that. But I would watch some of these defensive sector stocks carefully. They're starting to come around. Now, there certainly are those out there that aren't loved at all yet, KHC. So we're not in a full rotation mode, but I do think it is important to start paying attention to these. If the market starts to sell back, we might see these kind of stocks move on higher, so watch those closely. Take a look at W-Day. W-Day had a really nice pop yesterday. Interesting that it's gapping lower so strongly here this morning. Keep an eye on that. Snap trying to push higher here a little bit, still trying to get out from underneath that downtrend. But there's quite a few things out there moving around. Uber has been really, really strong here. It started off with a lot of volatility in that move. Any rest or pullback, I think, sets up an opportunity there in Uber as well. So running out of time here this morning. I want to wish you guys all a fantastic day. Thank you so much for being here today. Wish you great success in your trading, and I will see you right back here bright and early Thursday morning. Have an awesome day, everyone. Wish you all the best.